want to tell you something. You can't listen to these young people and not have pride in our public schools, can you? Well, it's my great pleasure to introduce a very special guest today, Congressman Chaka Fattah. He is a fifth-term congressman from the great state of Pennsylvania. He is the head of the African American congressional delegation from the East. He scored a major legislative victory when his first major legislative initiative passed in 1998. And I'm talking about the GEAR Up program. You're familiar with GEAR Up, and it's largely because of the good work of Congressman Chaka Fattah that program came into being. Chaka Fattah's top legislative priority right now is his Student Bill of Rights. The Student Bill of Rights would require states to certify that their public schools operate on an equal statewide basis for all students. Congressman Fattah has been identified by Time magazine as one of the 50 most promising leaders of our nation. He has been a guest on NBC's Meet the Press, and he's been on Chris Matthews' Hardball. Let's give a good Ohio welcome to Congressman Chaka Fattah.
Congressman Strickland, your congressman is a true advocate for equal education. I noticed when the Ohio court relinquished jurisdiction over the adequacy case, Congressman Strickland went into the federal court, went to the Supreme Court, asking that something be done to uphold the basic concept of this being a nation of laws. He has fought in every conceivable way for an equal educational opportunity for our children. Give him another round of applause, and let me thank him for what he has done and what he's meant, not only to the people here in Ohio, but across the country. Now, I got up early this morning in another state, got on an airplane and flew in here because I heard that George Bush was going to be in town. And he's got this idea that we should test kids in every school every year. And I'm all for tests. But I think that it's impossible to figure out whether or not you can swim if you put a kid in a pool with no water in it, and then you try to discern that they can't swim. Now let me talk about Ohio for a minute, but let me start far away from here. Just a few days ago, a court in Texas ruled that the school funding system there was unconstitutional. That the system that provided less than $3,000 per pupil in some districts and close to $25,000 in others couldn't possibly create an equal result. 50 years after the Brown versus Board of Education decision, a few months ago in Topeka, Kansas, a trial court there ruled that, he said, wait a minute, we got a system where in Topeka we're spending 300% less than what they're spending in the suburbs of this city. Now, I was just in Kansas. And let me tell you something. You can't get an equal result without an equal effort. It's impossible. Within the last 3 weeks, 50 school districts in Georgia moved by what you've been able to do here in Ohio, which is at least get this issue in the courts, finally decided to go into the court of law and argue that this property tax-based funding system in Georgia needs to be changed. Now, I heard your former Governor Gilligan speaking. This problem has been around for a while. When we had another Republican president, Richard Nixon, he put a commission together looking at school finances. You go up and read the Nixon School Finance Commission report. 30 years ago, they said, look, as long as we keep having unequal resources, we're going to have unequal success. This is not a surprise. So the reason why I've come to Ohio is because you have been at the forefront of the most aggressive fight that's been waged in any state in our country. And you have been unrelenting. That is, when the first decision came down, and the second one, and the mediation, and now you all the way up to the court walking away from, which was amazing, their own decision, not in rhetoric, they stand behind it, but in terms of actually enforcing it. And when Russ picked me up at the airport this morning, he was telling me about the work of the commission. Now, we've had commissions in other states. In Maryland, the commission came back and said, look, we need $1.5 billion to make these schools work in the state of Maryland. And then the governor and the legislature started fumbling the ball. And in other states where we've had these commissions and these studies, in New York, what was amazing about the case there is that the trial court, looking at the New York City case, says, yeah, it's absolutely wrong to have a school funding system in which the kids in the city of New York, you're going to spend $50,000 less on their education than in the wealthy suburbs of the city. It's wrong in New York City to have 418 schools today that have no library at all. Now, we have schools where we're in Philadelphia where we don't have a librarian. But to think that you can have hundreds of schools without a library. Now, in Ohio, as you read through the evidence that was brought forth to the court, you saw that throughout this state, you have widely differing systems of public education. It's not like a fast food operation where no matter where you go in one, it's the same set of circumstances. You got differentials in class sizes and the quality of instruction and the curriculum. You have differentials in every single respect in terms of what's being afforded to these young people in terms of their education. And it's a national imperative that this change. That's why I'm here. Because what you are doing here is not only going to help change the circumstances here in Ohio, but it is going to help make a change across our country. And I want to thank you for that. Now, I saw on CNN early in the morning, just the other day, the perfect example of why this fight is so important. I saw a young lady who is a student here in Columbus, and she was featured on CNN, and she was 9 years old. I can just tell you, this young lady's on her way, and she's going to make a major difference in the world that we live in. 9 years old, she's organized a group of students there at her school, and she is having them debate the real issues of today, and she's convinced that we have to get this country back on the right track. We have to send back to Crawford, Texas, this gentleman who's come to town thinking that, one of the things that, when I had a chance to speak to President Bush about this school funding issue, and I was trying to talk to him, he gets this, you saw him the other night on TV. He gets this stare in his eyes. And you can tell that you're not really getting, the connection's not there, right? So I said, well, look, you used to be in Major League Baseball. I said, just think if the Texas Rangers had to come in and play another baseball team, and they flew into town, and they came to play baseball, but you said, well, no, your team can't have any gloves. Like they tell our kids, they can't have any textbooks. You look at the school finance case in Arkansas where the teacher filed the affidavit, Roy King. He says in his affidavit, he's got 200 kids, he's got 20 textbooks. And he's 4 calculators. He said he's the entire math faculty in his school. And he says there's a number of problems with that. One